Hello guys, and welcome to another David Zamaleta. My name is Serge, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can start this Sprinter with a screwdriver. You might be wondering, why are we starting it with a screwdriver? Well, it's because we got the dreaded start error, and one of the ways to find out what's really wrong with it is to do just that.
Let me explain. You're gonna first need to disconnect the negative battery terminal. You're going to need to disconnect these pieces from here. This is pretty self-explanatory, so I did not want to waste your time with it. So now that we're back here, this metal thing that you're looking at, that is this is ignition tumbler, which is a mechanical one, okay? And the black portion is the electronic ignition tumbler. And you could clearly see where it plugs in. So that's where the wires go. They plug in right there into this fuse panel. Now, at first, when you want to remove the fuse panel, you want to disconnect this red cable. I first disconnected it, but then I remember this, I'm not removing it. I am doing a test, so I put it right back. But I just want to point it out because I want you guys to understand that it is connected and we can perform this test even though things are looking like this. So how are we going to start it with a screwdriver? So we're going to need to separate, let's see, how can I mount this in such a way to where I could actually still show you something. So you need to press these little plastic things in. There's one on both sides. It's gonna take trial and error. I'm not gonna make a video of me removing them because I may struggle with it, I may not, and there's really no way to mount my camera in here, so I'm not even gonna try to do that. But you do need to press that in, and then wiggle this thing out. Best method approach is find two tiny flatheads, work both sides at the same time, while at the same time kind of like prying from this way and pressing it in and trying to kind of like work it out. So that usually works. It's not that complicated to pull it out. Now, when you do pull it out, there's a high likelihood that there's plastics in here that spin. They may fall out, and you don't want them to just simply fall out. They will, however, fall out if you put the key in. But you can actually put the key in there and just put your hand and just kind of like wiggle it and stuff once you remove this electronic ignition switch so that it falls in your hand nicely. Then you'll need to inspect those plastic pieces. Once you got them in your hand, take a look at what they look like. If they're out of place, or maybe they look fine, or they're worn out and they misaligned, that will cause a start error. And part of the reason that it causes that because those plastic pieces plug in into your electronic ignition switch, and that's what's really rotating it. Usually the actual mechanical portion is fine, but if the plastic internals fail, not in the ignition switch itself but in the actual tumbler, then that's a problem. And sometimes the actual electronic ignition switch will fail that way. So that is that. So the goal is for us to take this key, plug this in. So with the key being plugged in, the signal is going to be communicated through here. Now, it's not particularly necessary to have the key turned because technically you'll be turning the actual electronic ignition switch with a flathead screwdriver, and that's what's going to be starting up the van. For that situation, I'll probably place tripod over here and you could see kind of like what I'm doing. But anyways, time for me to pry it out. I do want to show you my approach, how I actually do this. You'll need to drive this screwdriver all the way this way. See if I could actually, if you could actually see this. Let's see. Yeah. I'm trying to, oh my gosh. What's going on here? Probably too zoomed in. Okay, I lost sight of it. Okay, so you could see the electronic ignition tumbler right here. It's easiest to access it from here. Okay, see, I pressed that in, and I actually depressed that other one over there. at the bottom. So I'll show you. Come on, stay. Okay. So I'm gonna have this other flathead. You could see I depressed it over there. So now you'll just wanna simply come in. Oh yeah, you see that? You see what I'm talking about? That has came out, and that's exactly what I was talking about. It's I wanna inspect it to see what it looks like in here. And you wanna take a look, make sure that let's see. It's getting washed out. Okay, there it is. You'll just want to observe it, and then you'll take it, you put it in your hand, and you could twist these things and find out if all of this stuff is okay. Now, visually, this seems to be okay, but is it okay? I don't know. So let's go back. This is the portion we'll want to churn with the screwdriver. So you'll want to make sure that you match that up really well, and I'll have to do that at this point. Get a nice thick one that fits in there, because it is very easy to mess that up. So right now it's in position A. I'll just take a note of that, and that's basically what's not gonna up position. Okay. So now with the key, insert it here. Let's see if we could get it to hold. So it's in out position, so we can now move it all the way. I do wanna take a note like I did last time and show you guys how much more will this lock travel now. Okay, so now you see that is the maximum it can go. You know, perhaps it was not a problem with the electronic ignition tumbler, but sometimes it was getting stuck, and maybe that it is causing issues. Maybe it needs to be disconnected in such a position. But this is not what we're trying to find out, is it? By the way, I do want to point out that this piece, I went ahead and I disconnected it. Okay. It has a couple screws, just to, you know, give me a little bit, well, it's better to have it disconnected, because, you know. But anyways, okay. I did find large screwdriver. This is an Icon one. This will work well. Let's just try this and see if start air comes back. So I put it in second position right now. Start air, it did come back. And let's see, I could switch it back. And nothing's happening. Okay, so let's talk about what this have accomplished. So now that we actually churned the electronic ignition switch with the screwdriver, and start air is still happening, it did rule out the possibility that it is an electronic ignition tumbler. Because if it would have started, problem solved. You just basically you know, fix that, and then there you go. But you might be wondering, well, what's next? Well, next is we're going to have to leave this Sprinter disconnected, battery disconnected, overnight, sometimes even several nights, so that it can possibly reset itself. And it may not reset itself, and in that case we'll have to think of something else. But while I'm still remembering stuff, let me quickly disconnect the battery. And then we'll continue talking. So okay, I'm just gonna tuck it on over there.
Now on this side, I'll just have to disconnect the power from here because I don't want to mess with this portion. I'm gonna disconnect the whole battery, guys. So what I want to do is just disconnect it right here. Yeah. And that will save us some trouble next time, because sometimes, you know, you could break this off, and this is just patina. I already had this wire brushed. As far as the connection goes, like everything's pretty good. But yeah, like it does need like new cable. But anyways, let's talk about this, guys. Some of these old sprinters will accept the keys from other sprinters. Like the key will simply just go in the hole, and some of them will even rotate your ignition switch. But of course, that little ring around the ignition switch will recognize that that is the wrong key for it. Therefore, it can, to protect your vehicle from being stolen, it can trigger a start error type of code. So in my situation, I did not even rotate the electronic, well, the ignition tumbler. I did not rotate it because that key that I inserted would insert, but would not rotate, nothing. And I did not force anything. You never should force anything. So, I mean, my goal was to just insert it, see if it turns. It wasn't. Okay, fine. So I only tried it once. Then I stuck another key in there, turn it. Okay, everything's working. That's the only thing I did. So the only thing is, when I did turn over with the other key, that other key was present, like it was in my hand. So I'm thinking that it's a possibility that the antenna picked up the fact that that key was near when the ignition switch turned, and it basically disabled my screen module, which is immobilizer unit, which is located right behind your speedometer. So when you remove it, you'll see it being plugged in over there. Now, I'm hoping that by me disconnecting the car battery and just leaving it for a while, that things will just reset itself and it will be fine. Obviously, me disconnecting it for a little bit at a time, like sometimes 30 minutes to an hour, it's, you know, that wasn't helping things. So I need to leave it alone for probably at least 24 hours and then come back to it again. So this is why I'm not taking any chances. The whole battery is disconnected. You can also do like a hard reset. And one of the ways to do a hard reset is once you have the battery disconnected, is to take the negative battery terminal without connected to the battery now, just to make sure. You touch it to the positive and you hold it for about like 30 seconds to a minute or something. And that can sort of like reset things. That's a hard reset. I don't know if these cables are long enough for me to do that. Yeah, it is long enough. So I am now touching them together. So you just sort of, you know, touch it, let it sit there like that. About a minute, as I said. I have bent them in such a way that they're always touching. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Just let them touch. And I guess, as they say, don't try this at home, kids, right? But I'm experimenting on my vehicle. We'll see what happens. Hopefully this hard reset will work and it will get rid of my start error. Well, let's say what happens if it doesn't. We have to have a plan, obviously, for that. Well, Sometimes an actual ignition switch has failed, like that electronic portion. That does happen. And I believe I have one that I could use. It probably should work. So I will attempt to test that. So next time, if I do get a start error, I will be plugging in electronic ignition switch from a different van that I know that that problem's not there. So I know I have them. Okay, so what happens if that doesn't work? Well, another way of doing it is order a new key from Mercedes now, because that's who deals with them. And then I'll have to program that key. Now that it is set into start error, I don't know how likely the immobilizer will program that other key. I tried erasing a key and then reprogramming it basically back. I'm not sure if I was doing it wrong. It needed some code that I did not have. I thought maybe I need to make something up or copy something from the screen. If anybody knows that, let me know. But anyways, that key was obviously programmed for the vehicle, and it just, I got a bunch of errors. It just did not want to do anything. So if I do get another key, which I do need, I will then program that in with my unit, because my unit should be able to program keys. But what if my immobilizer unit has failed itself? That's also a possibility. I don't know why it would fail, but it's a possibility. Then looks like I'll need another immobilizer. But before we jump to further conclusions, we do need to observe and see if there's any of the if we have any bad fuses. So there's a possibility of a fuse failing and causing exactly the same issue. I should have started with that, but it's okay. This is all a learning experience, and I'm sure somebody needed to see this. So we can try with a fuse in the next video when we're doing everything else. But I will hunt for the fuse tomorrow. Today is getting a little bit late, and I want to see if we have any dead fuses, because we may have more than one bad fuse. We may have a mass airflow sensor bad fuse. We may have oil sensor fuse bad, because I keep deleting those codes. They keep coming back. I mean, I got like brand new oil. So I may have an issue with the sensor or wiring or the fuse. So I got to really check out the fuses, and I have a very interesting kit to show you guys next time, which I can test all the fuses with. It's kind of cool. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.